right, on a roll, take two. I just don't know any better. I don't know how I should feel. I just keep moving in circles. I got no hands on the wheel. And now I'm out on a roll, spiraling out of control again. I think I'm ready to know if somebody can tell me when. I keep dragging it on. I keep dragging it on. So afraid of the consequences, barbed wire fences, trapped for eternity. I think I'm losing my patience. It isn't too hard to tell. It doesn't make any difference. I thought I knew me so well. And now I'm out on a roll, spiraling out of control again. I think I'm ready to go. I'll hit a brand new low and then I'll keep dragging it on. I'll keep dragging it on. I think given the circumstances, I'll take my chances and wait till it comes to me. With all that I know and all that I see, it's spiraling out of me. Where will I go? And who will I be? I keep dragging it on. So afraid of the consequences, barbed wire fences, trapped for eternity. I keep dragging it on. I keep dragging it on. I think given the circumstances, I'll take my chances. Wait till it comes to me. Keep dragging it on. Wait till it comes to me. I'm gonna try a new one here. It's a song called Middle of Nowhere. Eyes wide and here I am, dumb, lost and stoned again, and I'm looking for you. Still trying to understand if I'm the one soul of a broken man, and I'm looking for you. Wondering if you're hiding out in the open. I've been sort of hoping you'd be there, waiting for me to find you in the middle of nowhere. No way to know for sure. Now I'm still thinking of where you were when I drove off and you said you'd wait. When I came back too late. And now I pull my hair and I shake my head like a fool hanging on to the words you said. And I'm kicking myself again for thinking you'd be hiding out in the open. I've been sort of hoping you'd be there, wide, and here I am, dumb, lost, and stoned again, and I'm looking for you. Hiding out in the open, in the middle of nowhere. Hiding out in the open, in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of Yeah.
You had a nice little friend watching you. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music. It's a podcast about what you're passionate about, and it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. We are very lucky, thrilled, excited, amazed, over the moon. We're losing our minds. It's the eclectic, the amazing, the talented, the brilliant. He is Skyler Radmore.
Let's go.
Yeah. Skyler, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, man. I've been looking forward to it for a while, so.
You started us off with 2 great songs. I thought they were both beautiful. I hope everyone enjoyed them. Tell Skyler that he did a great job, please, folks, because
Yeah, I need to hear that.
yeah, he needs to get it. He needs to do more. We want Skyler
Pump my
to really,
tires, please.
because I'm a big fan. So
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
hell yeah, thanks for coming on. And so let's start at the beginning. Where was Skyler Radmore born?
I was born in Ottawa, so not very far from here at the Grace Hospital.
Okay,
I
yeah.
don't think that exists anymore. I think they tore it down.
Okay.
They saw me come out of there and they were like, that's enough of that. We're going to get rid of this place right away.
So you're an Ottawa boy, born and raised then.
Yeah.
You're pretty much, I saw Stittsville, I think, out
Yeah.
there.
So I grew up most of my younger years.
Yeah. In Stittsville?
Mm.
Man, I had good times there with Ginger Fox in the old days. I used to drive from Chesterville to Stittsville to jam, and it was, I don't know, with the things we do for music, right? And
That's it.
if you find the right people to jam with, then all of a sudden it's a big deal.
That's true.
Just try to fix this a little bit. There we go. You could see the corner of our monitor in the screen. So now it's gone. I just had to push it. I just kind of just saw it cutting in. I don't have a, like on Joe Rogan, he's got a Jamie. Like I need a Jamie.
You got a cat.
Yeah, I got a cat that messes shit up and a dog that wants to mess shit up. But yeah.
No Jamies around here.
No.
Except
So
for Jamie Douglas, you had him for that one time.
that's right, Jamie Douglas,
There's
a
a
good
Jamie.
dude. He's from the downtown core. Like, would you consider yourself one of those musicians? I think it's an honor if you do, like a Heart and Crown musician.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like I'm part of the music community in Ottawa in that sense, where could be like I played Heart and Crown this last weekend. I filled in with the Velocities for Ryan McIntyre. He was away, so I jammed with those boys, and yeah, it was a good time.
Do you find it easy just jumping in, jamming with anybody? Like, if some random band just said, Skyler, you want to jam? Could you jump in? Just no problem?
I mean, for the most part, yeah. Like, I know a good handful of songs, so as long as we're playing, relatively straightforward stuff, then it's easier to jump in anywhere. And it's the same with other guys too, like if I'm playing Crazy Horse one weekend and we need to sub somebody out, there's 100 guys in the city that could just jump in without a rehearsal and away you go.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, I think that's awesome. But I mean, when I saw your friend Jayla Kirky doing the Sens game, she had a guitarist who she told me was just filling in. And I was like,
right.
He was amazing.
The young lad there, I don't remember his name.
Yeah,
right now.
he kicked ass though.
Yeah.
And So you're right. There is that caliber of musician here, and people need to get out and see you guys. Like, you play the Laugh as well, or
I've never done the Laugh, actually. That one's eluded me.
got to get in there. And also, I would say John Allaire, who came on the show, he does a thing at Quinn's, like a songwriters circle that I never knew about.
Okay.
And that like a bunch of really good songwriters go down to Quinn's on Saturdays and they write together. So that's another one I'm thinking about getting into.
I love the idea of songwriter circles. Yeah, let's get down there sometime.
Right? I mean, there was a girl, Niana, who came on here, a country artist, and she goes to Nashville to do the Canada House program. So they put her up there, let her stay for a month or whatever.
I would really like to do that.
Right? And then she goes and writes with all these fantastic musicians. Mm-hmm. It's not really about recording all the time. It's more so about going and just learning how to write on the fly with random musicians.
Yeah, so I ran into a guy at Crazy Horse. His name is Dallas Alexander.
Oh, yes.
Right? So,
yes.
The owner of Crazy Horse messaged me. He's like, hey, Dallas is in town. He wants to get up and do a song with you guys. And so he came up, did a tune with us, and I was talking to him after. And he's like, oh, I'm moving to Nashville. And, I told him, well, if you ever, need somebody to write tunes with, like, let me know. I'd love to get involved. And he said, come on down to Nashville when I get settled down there and, show me around the songwriter circles. And that's when it dawned on me that that's a whole different thing where people will go down there, get into these songwriter circles, write a song together, and then they get writing credits on that song and off it goes, right?
It's wild, but it makes sense. Like when you know that, once you do this, right, you figure out like, oh, catching lightning in a bottle is not as easy as we would like it to be. Like finding that song where it's just like, ooh, it's zapping around the bottle and I can barely keep it here, And when you get it, you know it eventually, like once you keep going. So I'm sure these writers write a song and sometimes they're like, and then sometimes they write one and they look at each other and go, okay, we got something here.
Yeah. Well, it's probably easier if you got 5 good writers sitting around, and
definitely
the ideas just kind of make themselves at that point, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I like the idea that that the community can think that way, and we'll keep.
I like the idea
growing.
of building the writers circle in Ottawa too. There's a lot of good writers in Ottawa. So.
Yeah, exactly. The folk scene has like the Rasputin group or whatever, and they helped me out like 15 years ago when I started doing music, and it was just me and my buddy and acoustic guitar, and so it helps. Same with open mics in the beginning. Go to open mics and because you can judge your songs. You can start judging them on reaction.
Yeah.
And it's like what my comedian roommate used to do when I was in Toronto. He would take his tape recorder, record the audience for the laughter.
Right. Oh, cool.
So that he could go through.
Yeah. See what works.
And he compare laughs from one show to the other on the same joke.
Yeah. Because sometimes, like I'll find that with songs too. I test my songs at like bar gigs, right?
Yeah.
Or I'll play my originals and I won't tell anybody that it's mine. I'll see how the song gets the reaction. And then one night, people love it. The next night, it's like they're all talking still. So on to the next one.
Oh, I hear you. It can definitely be like that. Like, and it also is shocking still to me every time anyone ever tells me they know the song or anytime they're like, oh, I like this song. And for some reason, it shocks me. And I'll be like, then afterwards, yeah, but you put it on Spotify and you did all this work and finally it clicks a little bit.
Yeah.
I've had people come up to me before and say that like they were like a couple in their 50s and they're like, we had good sex to your song. Like it was really good. And I was like, I didn't
got that one yet.
I didn't need to know that. And then after Blues Fest, there was a guy who came up with his girlfriend and they wanted me to sign her boob. And again, I was like, I'm just not prepared for this.
Is this a trap?
Like exactly.
Sock me if I do this.
Just exactly. You don't really know, right? Like I've also had an ex-girlfriend punch me at the Rainbow because I had my picture taken with 2 other girls and she just got jealous.
That's not your fault.
That's what I tried to explain to her. I'm working,
Yeah.
And it's just one of the perks of the job.
You're going to have a hard time in this industry if you're not allowed to interact with girls because that's usually half of the people on the planet. So.
And you hope you have girls at your show. That's the thing. Sometimes because we do Southern rock, it can be a lot of dudes.
Well, I find if the girls go to the show, then the guys will go to the show.
Absolutely.
But if your music's only appealing to men, then generally nobody goes.
That's true. That's very, very true. So I just wanted to say, like, I listened to your Thompson Girl cover, and that's one of the songs where I heard it, and I like right away was like, oh, I have to have Skyler on the podcast.
Nice.
Because, yeah, man, you did a wicked job on that. People check it out on his Instagram. Wicked Gord Downey. Like,
Yeah.
but also but him at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I really admire. I mean, I sang Courage by him live. I think I've done, a few of them, but not that song. And it made me like, oh, I should have done that song. That's a good song.
Did you like ever listen to that one before that?
Oh yeah, okay, I think so. But it's
a deeper tune in their catalog, right? So you don't hear it on the radio as much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I always go back to the time of Napster because I was 13.
Yeah.
And so I was helping to ruin the world of music. And
downloading virus after virus.
That's right.
And the occasional song.
That took a long time to download. But, I got exposed to so much music that I don't think I would have been. And I remember discovering some tragically hip songs that never heard before. I think Darkness and some other ones that were just really good that I had. 50 Mission Cap is another one where it's like,
it's a great track.
I goggle or whatever it is, oogle at the writing. Because if you can tell a story that way, it's the same thing when I watch like listen to any of the 70s writers. I find myself often just going, I don't know how they're getting the story to develop like this so beautifully. But
the 50 Mission Cap, to write a song about a hockey card.
Yeah.
But then also tie it into how it's the card that he sticks under his hat to keep his hat sitting upright, because that's what, I guess it was a soldiers or something. They wear, I don't know, I should do a better background check on this story, but
no, I think you're bang on.
It is to keep the hat sitting properly on their head. They'll stick a playing card in there and
cool.
But like, how do you tie
I don't know, right?
those together?
All those details and then not worry about it because for years I was singing the wrong lyrics and I didn't know at all what the song was about.
When I first heard that song, I thought it was When the Real Cold Disappeared that summer. And I was like, When the Real Cold Disappeared, that song, that's cool. That's Bill Barilko.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Bill Barilko. And you don't know, it just goes to show you like the hooks, right? Like how hooks just work that way. They'll all of a sudden turn into something your brain recognizes.
Yeah, sometimes the lyrics don't actually matter at all.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Sometimes it's apple bottom jeans with the boots and the fur, and that's got everybody up and dancing, right? So
it's authentic. There's no hiding there. He's going right for the prize.
That one's a little less deep than the story of Bill Barilko. And
So you're born in Ottawa. You're growing up in Ottawa. What's your earliest musical memory? Like the first time you can remember music really striking you?
So I know my dad loved to sing.
Okay.
Mostly in the car. Be jamming along to stuff. So I had my dad singing a lot. And, but I do remember in grade 5, I had a teacher who, would do these music classes. And at one point she had this student teacher. His name was Fred Donker. He's still an Ottawa guy. I've run into him since then. And he would bring in a guitar.
Okay.
And the whole class would sing Beatles songs. Which, like, looking back on this, it just gets cooler and cooler to me because that teacher introduced, like, probably, generations of kids to the Beatles without them realizing, the significance of it. They were just singing these songs and, later on, it wasn't till about my probably my mid-teens that I got into the Beatles, and I'm like, oh, I know all these songs. Like we were singing them back when I was 8, or however old I was, right?
Yeah.
And but I remember seeing Fred play the guitar and thinking to myself, well, that's super cool, and I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then I got a guitar, and it sat in a closet for another 4 or 5 years before I even tried to play it. But
been there. But
because I like the idea of playing
the guitar.
That's
right.
Cool, right?
Everyone does.
Right, exactly. That's where everyone starts like, oh, who doesn't want to be able to play the guitar?
Right.
Everyone wants to be able to, but you got to get that drive to actually do it, which came to me when I was 12.
Nice.
I was over at my buddy's house, and he had one of those old PCs with the deep box monitor on it, and he booted up this Led Zeppelin video, it was Stairway to Heaven, and he just kept saying to me, wait till the guitar solo, man, just wait till the guitar solo. And it was a live version of the song too, so it was like extended. And when that guitar solo hit, I remember watching Jimmy Page just start playing, and in that version, I think it's probably a 4 or 5 minute guitar solo. And I sat there and I'm thinking, how does he never run out of ideas? You know, like, because in my head at that point in time, it was like, this lick, that lick. But he just seemed to keep going with it. And that perplexed me and kind of gave me the bug to play guitar. I'm like, I got to figure out how to do that, because that was cool. And so the first thing I did was sit down and learn Stairway to Heaven. I must have played it 40 times a day for a year, until I had the picking, I had the strumming, and I had the lead, right? It was kind of, it's the perfect song to
incorporate all the...
Yeah, that was big for me, a good starting point.
That's smart, because I was talking about this last night with Ian from Double Experience about how, as vocalists, when we were learning the guitar, we would just learn it to the point that we could sing with it. Like, I never I never got past that point. As soon as I could strum it rhythmically, nicely, maybe a little picking, and then sing, that's all I really cared about. So I never got past that point. So,
but you were probably, you wanted to sing the song, right?
Yeah,
I wanted to play it on the guitar. I had no interest in singing.
Interesting.
No interest in singing. I wanted to be a guitarist. It was Jimmy Page, then it was Eddie Van Halen, and then it was Slash, and it was like, I'm just dialed in on the guitar.
Wow. Those are all great guitarists to look up to and learn from.
Well, they are, except for you're never going to be as good as them. So it's, I mean, it's a good standard to set yourself, but you're never going to catch them. You know what I mean?
Hopefully not. I mean, in some ways, we hope not. I mean, because they've become legends. It's like. It's like Freddie Mercury. It's like, no, you're not going to sing like Freddie. And it's just going to have to come to terms with that, And although they're always going to inspire us. Like, that's the gem of it. And I mean, well, Eddie's so technical, Van Halen, right? He develops his own style.
I transitioned out of trying to learn Van Halen pretty quick. Because
it's a whole other
that was
world,
a different level,
weirdness going on. And Jimmy, I don't know, people who I've had multiple guitarists who have similar opinions of Jimmy and same type of inspiration to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll say to me, but now I realize like he actually was playing pretty sloppy.
Yeah, it's a little sloppy, but it's the creativity.
Yeah, I know.
Really
and
drives it,
it's his skill too. Yeah. And, like making your own sound, and that just went with Zeppelin. I don't think he was trying, because also John Paul Jones was so...
Yeah, and I mean, Jimmy was smoking heroin the whole time too. So I mean, allegedly.
Yeah,
I wasn't there.
I heard about a shark having sex with a woman because of them. So anything's possible with these guys, and
the things they've done for sharks. Like it's not just people.
Baby shark was a real thing. It was just not good, and so. But those guys, I mean, I love it too. And I'll always have memories of sitting in a garage somewhere. And for some reason, I won't say why, but for some reason, the paint on the wall is dripping down. And those songs always just blew my mind. And then someone will say, oh, but it's just the blues. And I'll say, no, it's a reimagining of the blues, and then trying to hold it up to this rock and roll standard that they've set. And so I think it's just like
it's an evolution.
It's like when people get mad at Elvis, and I'm like, have you ever heard the interview of like Little Richard talk about Elvis? Like, he loves Elvis. He's like, I never would have got paid for Tutti Frutti if it wasn't for Elvis. Just never would have happened. So he's like, so you can all hate him for doing it, but I don't. You know what I mean?
Get in my Cadillac and love them all the way to the store.
That's right. Exactly right. Musicians, we know it's like, if you can, like we were saying about Nashville, if you can get your credit and get it going, and with art in general, if you can just get something going and rolling. Because getting momentum back is like an impossibility. And so you just have to go when you have it.
Mm-hmm. And then hope a Jimmy Page comes along and gets you some royalties.
Yeah, man. But I would not have wanted to be their singer. The search for the vocalist there was pretty brutal search. And then when they did decide on him, what I read was anyways, is that they made him get sandwiches for the band for a year and like put him on like shit duties.
You know, I just saw like recently, maybe in the last couple of years, that there's this other guy that they had like kind of locked in to do it, but this guy decided to go and tour with another band or something at the time, and like I don't remember his name.
Me neither, but I know exactly what you're talking
heard
about.
Some of his tracks, and I was like, holy hell, is this guy ever good? Like, you know?
All the guys they were considering were just amazing voices, but I know who you're talking about, and it's bothering me now too that I can't think of his name. Folks out there, tell us.
You know who we're talking about.
Tell us if you know.
That guy.
And I mean, so I saw you had reference to a shiny gold Les Paul.
Oh yeah, where was the reference there?
I don't know. It was either on Instagram or something.
I did a little clip of me trying to record a guitar solo I was writing.
Okay.
Yeah, on a shiny golden Les Paul. Yeah, that's right.
Harder to do as well than people might think. Getting like those clips going, it's not.
It's annoying.
Yeah,
I don't like it, but
but that's the world we live in now.
That's where we are now.
So we'll talk about, or at least I want to talk about your big performance that I saw you did at Casino Rama Resort. Where is that? Where's Casino Rama Resort?
It's in Aurelia, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere. Reference to my earlier song there. Not actually a reference, but similar in the sense that it is in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of like I think it's like a couple hours from Toronto, and,
right? And you played with 5-Man Electrical Band?
Yeah, I'm singing for them now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Like I said about your voice, it's a damn good it's a damn good voice, folks. Well, that's legendary. I mean, anytime people bring up 5-Man Electrical Band, I'm just like, you have to realize like what Signs did to the world and like how, if you think now no one cares about Ottawa, like go back in time. And, you know, like I'm from Chesterville, and when used to have Nestle's, the chocolate factory. So it would say on the sign, home of Nestle's when you drive into town. Well, when Nestle's left them, you know, they changed the sign and it says like home of the drummer of Buffalo Springfield. It's like, that's the big,
pretty cool,
right? That's the big, that's our big connection there now. But these old guys who like old guys or whatever you want to call them, time is so crazy because 20 years has passed on me, and I and now I realize like I see old people and I'm seeing them as kids now. Like it's weird. For a long time I'd see old people and be like, oh, that person like 90 years. Oh my God, it's fast. Time is wild.
Yeah, it's happening quick, eh?
So, how many shows have you done with them?
That was the first show, and that's the first and only one we've done so far.
Was it a tryout? Or did you pretty much know I've got this?
Well, as soon as the opportunity came along, I was quite, what's the word?
Excited?
I was excited, but I was determined.
Oh.
I was determined to make sure that I was going to do a good job and be prepared for it, and So once we started rehearsing, I was ready, you know, and the song sounded good, and we did that first show there. We got a couple more coming up in 2025. I'm hoping that that we'll just get her rolling and play lots. I would like to do more 5-Man Electrical Band shows. They're pretty sweet.
Yeah, especially since you're the lead vocalist now.
Yeah, it's fun.
I mean, that is so cool. That is so legendary. Like, congratulations. And I hope you just run to the moon with that. Like, that is so sweet. And also, it'd be really cool if you ever wrote a song with them as well.
Well, I've already talked to them about that too. So it's in the works. I'll keep pushing it, but we'll see where that goes.
Oh my God, that's super cool. Yeah, and I just like I was saying, it's no easy feat to cut into that musical world that they did. And now, I'm another band from Ottawa that's does great stuff like that was the Cooper Brothers. Have a great classic sound.
And all the 5-man guys know these guys, right?
Exactly. So, it's not a big. The music community is big but small.
Yeah, especially once you get to a certain level, it's very small. Especially in Canada, like. all the top Canadian bands, they all know each other. They all run into each other all the time, right? And
Yeah.
it ends up being a pretty small knit group of people.
How much do you think like humility and professionalism played a role in you snagging this job versus like talent? And I mean, because this is the thing, I think you're incredibly talented, but they must have also been looking for somebody with the right mindset and the right.
Yeah. I think it's definitely important. I always try to make sure that when I'm going out to perform, even if it's just, corner of a small bar somewhere, I put on my working hat and I put on a nice shirt and I go out there and I try and do a good job. And that's how I ended up with the gig. I was playing at the Main Street pub in Stittsville. It all comes back to Stittsville, but we the drummer saw me there, and a couple weeks later he called me up and he's like, "Hey man, not sure if you're interested, but we got this potential show coming up in December at Casino-Rama.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for somebody to sing with us." And I was immediately like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I don't care what the pay is. I'm in."
Yeah.
Pay ended up being pretty good, but that was kind of secondary.
It was just like a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the show was everything and more than I expected. Like
With the crowd,
and honestly, Casino-Rama is an epic venue. Like,
yeah, hey?
it's
Nice. I saw the pictures. It looked incredible.
It's world class. And so even the agent who books us, he's been in some big bands too. I can't remember which ones exactly. I think he drummed for Loverboy at one point in time, and he was saying that like Casino-Rama is the best venue of that style in Canada.
Cool.
That was his
Cool.
His words. And you walk in there, they got these big halls, and they got all the pictures, all the bands that played in there, and almost all of my favorite bands are on that wall.
I hope the hard rock that's gonna be done, I hope that they did a bang up job. I'm sure they did, because I'm excited to see what kind of venue could come from that. I'm excited to see what kind of venue could come from that one down off Rideau or whatever that they're trying to change into something.
Right.
Venues are so cool. And once you again, I don't think I started appreciating them until I, went to 100 bars. And then you start.
Yeah.
It's like my bandmate used to say when we go into a bar in Toronto, and Mig would always say, pas d'ambiance ici. Pas d'ambiance. I don't want to stay here. I looked at the menu, no escargot. I'm not interested.
It didn't pass the vibe check.
And so, but he was right, it is great when you go into a venue, even if it's a little bar, dive bar. I mean, God, Dominion Tavern packed is a great experience for a band.
Yeah.
It doesn't, Casino-Rama packed, that's another level. I mean, but the fact you had that positivity come from the experience makes me really happy, because like whenever I did the Sens game, we did 3 original songs. We didn't do covers.
Nice.
And but
did
then
you tell SoCan that? Did you get some money off of that?
We did tell them. I don't know if they ever paid us, but we did.
Supposed to.
We did send that off. And so it was only like 9,000 in the building that night, because we were losing bad a few years ago.
I actually heard that it doesn't matter how many people were in attendance, they pay to the capacity of the building. So
man, I'm gonna get back on that. But I
you
mean,
got at least a couple of quarters waiting for you somewhere.
That'd be nice. I'll take them. I mean, the thing was, it was fun. It was a great learning experience in many ways. And then one of the learning experiences was while I was sitting there afterwards watching the game, watching the negative comments come in, and watching the meanies come in and try and beat me down. And I was like, I was feeling good. So like, I'm glad that you got like that positive crowd, that great experience. And man.
Well, I'm lucky so far. I haven't run into anybody that's really offended that I'm singing Les Emerson's songs in his place, but I'm sure it'll happen at some point.
Maybe,
because there's always going to be people like that. And I think if you hit a certain level and that stuff's happening, then it's honestly a compliment, because it just means that enough people are seeing you that like you're never going to win everybody over, you know?
No, you're not.
It's a percentages game, and you just try and hit the best percentage you can everywhere you go. And
entertainment's one hell of a business, folks.
Yeah.
That's why they say it over and over again and tell you when you're a kid, like, ain't no business like show business. And I know people who have had like blow up experiences and then deal with harassment, like more so like the benefits are being outweighed by the negative harassment to the point that they have to then move off of social media and have someone manage it for them.
Right.
And so it's like the joy gets stolen out, the dopamine gets taken away from you anyways. So it's
replaced with self-doubt.
Exactly, right? And it's just sadly, well, a lot of it sometimes can be, you know, the lady artists, the girl artists dealing with creepazoids. You know, it can be that simple on Instagram, because I've talked to a lot of them and said like, wow, you got like 20,000 followers on here, like that must be really beneficial to you. And they're like, actually, it's like 10,000 creeps.
They all want feet pics every day.
Exactly.
I'm still waiting for people to want feet pics. I'll sell them. Like,
it's like OnlyFans replaced the musician in some way. Like in the old days, Ozzy would have been, you know, doing OnlyFans and music and everything, right? Like, sell my body, whatever. I don't care, you know. Like,
give me your money.
Yeah, the 70s it was a different time. Did you watch the Super Bowl last night?
I did, yeah.
Did you? What are any thoughts on the halftime show?
You know, I went into it trying to keep a positive, open mind. Because you know, like a lot of the Super Bowl performances have been hip hop lately, and you know, I'm not huge into hip hop, but I do appreciate and enjoy some of it.
Of course.
And, that last night, I did find myself about halfway through thinking, okay, this could be better, but you know.
Tough again.
You know,
again, everyone's a critic, right?
It's just not for me, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, but you know what I think too is it's tough. I find it hard to enjoy a performance when there's a live vocalist singing to a backing track. Like there's something about the way the mix is that they don't blend very nicely.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
and it's
man.
like this doesn't sound good. And I also think that you know, if one of the most important parts of your show is having choreographed dancers behind you, that maybe music isn't the most important part of the performance. And for me, it's like it should be about the music, but you know, it's performance arts too. So I mean, I can't really judge on that. But I do remember Paul McCartney doing the halftime show and just like absolutely slaying it, and thinking about how many people all around the world were doing the na 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 na. It was probably every bar in North America at the top of their lungs at the same time singing that. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think we're missing a bit of that.
We're shooting for moments like that when we're on stage, when we're doing shows, performances. That is what the goal is, to shoot for a memorable moment where the crowd will never forget it. And they'll always have that memory, bring it up every time they think about the band or the song. It'll just, boom, it'll be right there. And
I'm sure, you know what, I'm sure some people had that experience with Kendrick Lamar last night, you know?
Yeah. Definitely not Drake, though. Drake did not have that experience.
Maybe he did. Maybe he thought it was good.
If he made money, right? That's the thing people got to remember in all this stuff about hype. And I know people get shot at in that thing, so maybe not as much. But, you know, sometimes you never know people helping each other build their careers.
Yeah, and they say any publicity is good publicity, right? So
yeah, and again, like when hip hop is really fascinating for that, because you saw the stuff with Eminem and who was the guy who went after him?
It was like
Machine Gun Kelly, and tried to diss track him. And, and it was just like, clearly you knew going into this that when you diss tracked Eminem, it was not going to go well. Like, you had to know that.
Well, I mean, I don't even think I knew who he was until he did that, so maybe it did go well.
Right?
You know?
Exactly. He had to know going in, I'm going to get defeated, but I'm going to win.
Yeah, I'm gonna have more followers after this, and then I can...
A little Mike Tyson, Jake Paul action going on there. Like, you know,
the fight was fixed.
Yeah. Oh, God. if it wasn't, it was still pathetic. You know, like
if it wasn't, it was more pathetic.
Yeah, it was so sad.
No,
like
you could see Mike biting his glove because
Yes.
all he wanted to do
was knock
punch
him
Yeah,
out
yeah.
so bad.
Like
Like
he's thinking $20 million.
$20 million.
$20
million.
Just don't hit him.
No more debt. I got kids. We could do this.
Yeah.
But again, that generation that I think we both come from. Maybe I'm a bit older than you. I'm from the 80s. I'm from 86.
I'm 90, so I'm not too far behind you, but
Okay, well, so for me, it was like Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
And
Batman, Spider-Man,
definitely those. And I mean,
little Power Rangers mixed in there.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck. I got told I couldn't watch Power Rangers anymore because my sister was getting like nightmares or whatever. And I was so pissed. And I was secretly watching it. Same with The Simpsons. I was sneaking The Simpsons in because we weren't allowed to watch that for a while, which eventually I was just like, I don't care, Mom. Damn hell fart. Like, I'm going to watch this show. And then by the time I was like 13, the South Park was in full bloom and parents were like giving up because Cartman was just doing whatever the hell he wanted already.
Yeah, it was pretty crude. I was lucky. I never had any restrictions to cartoons I couldn't watch when I was growing up and video games I couldn't play,
Religion played a little bit of that in for me. And
that's fair, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't think it mattered because, I watched it anyways. But when I had Rohan Deshpande on here, who's a great guitarist, metal, young guy, and he's saying, oh, well, my parents, they wouldn't let me have screen time until I was 16. And I'm like, what? And
like no TV?
No, nothing. And if he got to watch TV, it was like going to the movie theater. You know what I mean? Like a big deal.
Yeah.
And otherwise, he just read books, and he's super smart and super focused. And I was kind of...
Maybe that's why
I
can't read books.
I was asking him, like, where did this focus come from? Because I could get from him, like, for you're 20 years old, 21 years old, you're working like 4 jobs and doing this and that. And but when he told me, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, it's like full on sacrifice.
Discipline does work.
Full on, I didn't have that though.
No,
and
me neither.
God, I had friends who couldn't go trick-or-treating. Those were the really religious parents. And the kids weren't allowed to go trick-or-treating, and they wanted their spelling tests to be changed so that they weren't about Halloween. The parents were like, I don't want them to learn how to spell skeleton and bat and all these, like I want make them about a regular life, not about the devil.
Spell Jesus.
I love it. So when you record, how did you get into that process? And did it take you a while to figure out how you like to record?
So my earliest memories of recording is I had a buddy. This is just after I started playing guitar, so probably about 12 years old. He had a PC and like whatever, like the first version of Pro Tools was, and like we were doing a little bit of recording on there. He was like way ahead of anybody I knew, but we did a little bit of tracking there, and then I eventually got myself a little Tascam 8-track digital recorder that printed the CD right out the side.
Yeah,
and that was pretty sweet. So I started recording on my own, making little demos and stuff, and then once I got into a band with the Weeds, we did our first album. It wasn't a full album, which is an EP, at Audio Valley with Steve Foley, who we were talking about earlier there.
Yeah, great guy.
And after that, I went into a studio called Little Chicago, and the Weeds were doing these overnight sessions where you start at 11 p.m. and you record till like 4 or 5 in the morning. And we were doing it with this guy named Chris Ferris.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point in time, things kind of soured with the relationship with the owner of the studio, and we kind of cut ties with them. But we never had any bad experiences with Chris Ferris. And years and years later, fast forward, I'm playing with Radmore, and we're talking about recording, and I remembered all those recordings done with Chris that sounding really good, and I said we should give them a try, and we went in, did one song, and then we're like, "Okay, let's do an album with them," and then we put out our full album there.
Cool. And where can people find the full album?
The album's on all the streaming
everywhere,
services.
Spotify, and the band is Radmore.
The band is Radmore, and the album's called Kaz.
That's cool.
It's a mix of 6 of my songs, and there's 4 on there that TJ Morrison also wrote.
Nice. And I also saw Heart of the Season and Calling You, both featuring Jayla Kirky.
Yeah.
Are those the newest releases that you've put out?
Yeah, those are my first 2 releases as Skyler Radmore. So
okay,
at some point with Radmore, things weren't moving as fast as I wanted them to. Like I'd like to be working on something like multiple times in a week.
It's fine to feel that way too.
There's
nothing wrong with that.
I want to get the ball rolling, especially now I'm in my mid-30s. I want to see progress, and if we're going, 1 jam a month, and it's just it's not quick enough of a pace for me. And but I realized that if I release something under Skyler Radmore, then at least the pace is going at whatever I'm willing to push it at, right? So.
Exactly. And it's so true. And I mean, that's interesting because even though the band is named after you, you're still having to be patient and wait on others.
Yeah, it was that was honestly, it was named after me, but it was not our band.
There you go.
I wasn't.
Yeah. You weren't being James Brown.
No, I wanted everybody to
feel involved,
feel like it was theirs,
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. It was.
I get it 100% though. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I mean, that's how I started doing this podcast. Was things in my band slowed down to the point where I was like, oh, I really want to be doing a lot more.
Yeah.
And so I totally get it, and I think that's a normal thing to go through. And it brings me back to the story that a friend told me about Bryan Adams living here in Ottawa when he was like 16, 17. And he was going to high school here, and he was jamming with some dudes, and he was in my friend's band for about a week. And then 5-6 days in, he comes down into the basement and he just goes, "You guys aren't moving at the speed or the pace that I want to go at. I got a boogie. Sorry. Peace out. Bye." Yeah. And 2 years later, Summer of '69 was out. And you know what I mean?
Should have moved a little quicker, boys.
Right? But that's why I tell people, like, it's okay to feel that way. If you have the art and you have the passion and the push, then you have to do it. It's not even a matter of, you have to find a way to get that art out.
Yeah. So I started working with Jayla because she's really driven too, and I liked her work ethic a lot, and she's also super, super talented. She's got a great voice, and I thought it would be a good partnership there to write and record together. And
good call.
Try and team up and make a push at the music business.
Yeah, man, your collaborations are on point. For absolutely, And I mean, you can tell you collaborate with quite a few people. Like you mentioned, who was the other songwriter
for which?
For Radmore.
TJ
right.
Morrison, yeah.
So you have that connection, the big one. You have the Jayla connection. You've got 5-man electrical band, and then that's awesome. Was there any more projects?
I mean, there's always more projects. There's something we're doing now with Chris Ferris at CFS Audio. Jayla's singing on it.
Okay.
We're calling it the Stable District. And it's got this kind of modern, dark pop indie feel to it. And I'm pretty stoked on some of the stuff we've done so far. I think with that project, the plan is to kind of accumulate a good stockpile of content and songs, so that once we start releasing it, it isn't going to be a year in between releases like it is with my current stuff.
Releasing is a whole, and marketing is like this other part of the business, right? Where it's like you can get really good at the songwriting and really good at performing live, and then you enter into the whole, well, now I got a market. Yeah. Now I need a budget. Yeah. Now who do I budget? Who do I work with? Or am I going to do it all on my own with social media, which is a nightmare. Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing that I find really interesting about music, is that it's not like you just hand it off, because no one has the money to just hand it off that way. You end up having to dig in yourself, figure out, how am I going to get these songs heard.
Well, I was naive enough to think when I started writing songs that if the songs were good enough, everything else would just fall into place. Which turns out, if you write the best song in the world and it just sits in your basement, then it doesn't really matter.
That's the truth. And you do. A song can start opening doors. Like when you do everything correctly, which you don't even know if you've done it right, but you're trying to do everything correctly.
You follow the process.
Yes, and take your time and you do it so you're proud of it.
You never know.
That's the truth of it. And then you can pick up some momentum, and from that outspawns this and outspawns that. But I think you must, you have a great attitude. And like I was saying, you're able to work with all these people from going back to the beginning of the podcast, where we were just saying you can hop in with anybody. And obviously that ability to do this is helping you out right now.
I love collaborating with other people. I enjoy it more than playing on my own. It's that sometimes you write something and you like it, but what it really needs is someone else to just go, oh, but what if this happened on it? And you're like, oh, there it is.
There it is.
You know? So
it's generally simplicity, right?
Yeah.
But it's like your mind doesn't want to accept it necessarily. If you think of it, just you're like, oh, and then someone says it and you're like, damn it, of course.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the Beatles.
Yeah,
Again, the way they would always just do what was necessary. And all of a sudden the melody is like the most memorable thing you could imagine. So
yeah, one of my favorite parts of that was the Get Back documentary on Disney. There is, I guess they were recording or writing Get Back, and John Lennon gets his first guitar solo on like the album or whatever, and Paul, like after a couple of runs through it, he's like, well, John, you don't have to play all the notes.
Right.
He was
Paul.
just wailing away on it. And,
Yeah.
well, you don't have to play all the notes.
Yeah.
And then he kind of simplified it a little bit, and that's like do 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 do. That's just a great little lick, right? So
I think McCartney is the king of melody. I'm not
so
really
good.
sure how
And
he
chords.
does. Yeah, I mean, yes, John was amazing, and he's like that thunderous heartbeat and that
He's that wild card.
Yeah, man, and a magnet. Like you're drawn to that. And but Paul's melody ability is something, man, because everyone's still mind blown by it.
Totally.
And everyone's still trying to catch up. But
yeah,
again, I think it's okay. We need people to look up to.
That's right.
So what's next you have coming up?
So I've got a stockpile of stuff I've recorded on my own. I'm trying to go through it and hopefully at some point release some stuff I recorded in my own studio, which I find very difficult to do because I never know when I'm done recording it or if it's good or not. Right?
Been there.
So, but I'd like to get over that hurdle and start releasing some of my own stuff just in between the songs I'm doing with CFS Audio, and then also I got the 5-man shows coming up this summer that we'll have to get ready for. We're going out to BC. We're doing a festival with 5440 and the Trues.
Hell yeah!
It's Cranbrook, BC. They're doing a little festival out there, and then I think we're doing Fallsview Casino in October next year. But you never know, like we could get a call from the agent and say like, oh, we got a show in March, get ready, and then we'll go wherever it takes us.
It's fantastic. Yeah, congratulations. It sounds to me like you're living the dream. That's what they used to say to me when I was working as a grip in TV, and you show up at some ungodly hour, and my boss would always say, we're living the dream.
It doesn't get better.
It doesn't get any better than this, You're like, shit. But I mean, you really are doing great, man. You're kicking ass, and keep going. Don't stop, obviously. I mean,
never stop.
Never stop.
Won't stop.
And the songwriting, again, you're having a lot of fun with it, right? And you're enjoying this whole thing.
It's just a part of who I am now,
When did you discover your voice? That's what I really wanted to ask.
Oh, that's a good question. So, back in high school, I was trying to be a guitarist in the band, and at one point, I was having a hard time finding a good vocalist, and I I was jamming at home, and I think I just got into Stone Temple Pilots, and the song Plush was like something I was really drawn to, and I realized that was my vocal range. You know, like all my favorite singers were Robert Plant, Steven Tyler, Axl Rose, all these guys, and I'm like, I can't sing because I can't sing like that, you know. But then I realized, okay, I can sing like Scott Weiland, so maybe that's what I got to do if I need to sing. And then I joined a band as just a frontman singer. I got a picture of me playing at the Rainbow when I was 17, no shirt on, leather pants, frontman style, and
Living the dream.
Living the dream. Yeah. So that was it for me. It was Stone Temple Pilots. Kind of realized I could sing like that in that range, and it took off from there.
That's a great range to find yourself in.
Wow.
And I mean, to be able to say like, oh, I can sing Scott Weiland, like, hell yeah. and like that reminds me of the Derek Whibley biography story where he's like under the covers with Scott Weiland and Paris Hilton, and they're hiding from the cops. And so they decided, like, the cops burst into this party, and the three of them were like, we're going to hop into a bed. Or Paris said, let's hop into a bed and pretend we're having sex. And then the cops will leave us alone.
Pretend.
Yeah. Well, that's what Derek Whibley said, is they got under the covers and Scott started grabbing at him. And he was like, no, Scott. Like,
we're just pretending. Take your pants off.
We're just pretending. And Scott was like, oh, really? Okay.
Uh-oh.
And then like stopped, you know? So I was like, that's a legendary story, you know? You're with Paris Hilton and Scott Weiland, like, fuck yeah.
You wouldn't take your pants off?
You know, that's wild, right? And yeah. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's awesome.
The amazing Skyler Radmore. Go check him out. Go see 5-Man Electrical Band live. Give Skyler some love. Check these tracks out on YouTube. I'm going to put links below. So yeah.
I appreciate it, man. And we actually, Jayla just released her first single, which I also co-wrote with her. It's kind of on the same, at the same studio, so it's kind of got the similar sound. It's a song called Lately. You can find it on her Spotify, Apple Music, and all that too. So check that one out as well.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. And thank you out there for watching. And we're going to see you all again next time on All Worn Out. Bye-bye, everybody.